Hello and welcome back to the Passionate Pioneer podcast, series 2. This is episode 15, and my guest today is Anne Scott, transforming your visions into reality. Hi, Anne.
Hi, Beth. Great to be here.
Yes. So you all know me. I'm Beth. You might know me as the Passionate Pioneer, the name of this podcast. And my motto is empowered women, empowered lives. Let's create this community together. So let me introduce Anne. From code to consciousness, Anne's path is one of inspiring transformation. A former tech leader, she now guides visionaries to build a better world through the power of intuition and imagination. Anne coaches clients to unlock their inner potential, transforming their visions into reality. Her unique approach ignites purpose, leading to a life of deeper satisfaction and meaningful success. Fantastic. Welcome, Anne.
Thank you. Great to be here.
It's always, every time I read a bio, my guests always say, oh, gosh, is that me? Sounds so glamorous, right?
It does. It does, but I'll own it. I'll wear it.
That's good. Own it, because that is you, right? And I always say that. Yes, own it. That is you. That's what you stand for, right? So let's talk about what initially sparked your passion. Did you always want to pursue this this dream of being a vision transformationist, or was it a journey of discovery?
Yeah, it was a journey of discovery. It was definitely a journey of discovery, Beth, and in fact, I had no idea what I wanted to be, but I knew as a child, I would say I was a storyteller, and I would get lost in a world of daydreams, and I never considered that I could pursue either of those, in an adult world, except perhaps being on stage. But believe it or not, I'm a bit too shy. So, I get as far as, I love movies, I love theater, but actually the idea of going on stage and speaking and, I've even dabbled in a bit of screenwriting, but, I'd never actually thought that I could do anything with that. Yeah. So it's taken a long time to get there. And I went through, what's interesting is I was in IT, as you've mentioned, from coding to consciousness.
Yeah.
And for the last 10 years of my career in IT, I was a transformation manager. I was I delivered business transformation. Yeah. So talk about a shadow career.
The beginnings were already there, right? You just weren't aware of them, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But I was in the ballpark, but not quite where I wanted to be, because I'm much more passionate about the human, the human transformation, and our ability as humans to change and create a beautiful world around us.
Right. Which we do. We are believe it or not, the creators of our reality. And when you tell people that, they're quite shocked. They're like, I wouldn't have asked for that, and I wouldn't want that, and I wouldn't want. Well, it's in your consciousness. All the things that you have are in your consciousness, right, Anne? So tell me on your journey then, on your journey of discovery. How did you get where you are today? What role models, mentors, or support networks helped you or inspired you, and how important were they?
Yeah, it's a very interesting, Beth, because I've considered this, and I would say that in terms of my relatives, it was the people who traveled and who had a bit of pizzazz about them. So I had an aunt who emigrated to Australia, and I always wanted to go to Australia. And it was one of the first things I did, was go to Australia and work there for a while. I had an uncle who worked on the missions, like I'm Irish Catholic, right? So, forever Irish. And my uncle worked on the missions on the Amazon, and I went down the Amazon, and I even hired a boat and, a little boat to get me down the Amazon, because I thought it was too, I didn't want to go the long way around. I didn't want to fly through Rio de Janeiro and go on the bus. I looked at the map and decided I could just go directly. So that's one of my adventures. And I also had a wonderful maternal grandfather who tootled around in a Volkswagen Beetle in the 60s, or 60s, early 70s. And I had a godmother who had a pink Morris Minor, and this is in the 60s. So those are the people that they just caught my attention. They were just fabulous people. But to be honest, I would say that I can't think of a role model or a mentor in school. in my early career. You know, it was always felt like I was out of place, and there was, you know, I was being told that I was out of place, really. I wasn't actually being inspired. So I would say I am where I am in spite of everything, rather than, you know,
it's a
despite.
familiar story, and it's a familiar
Yeah.
story. We all felt like the odd one out, right? It's
Yes.
and you know, our era, you know, there before the internet and stuff, and you know, and also being from, you know, where you're from Ireland, I'm from England. You know, the career advisors weren't very, they were the opposite of inspiring. They were, you know, you wanted to do something grand. Oh, I want to do this. No, you know, just no, bring it down a little bit, right? It's like, be realistic, or, but you know.
Well, I can tell you a little story. Hopefully it's not going off track.
Please tell us.
Yeah, when I you know, I brought up in rural Ireland generally. That was where I had most of my education, even though I did live in London when I was very, very young. But I was in a very small school where really they expected you to leave school and get married, probably, yeah, or go into the bank or become a teacher. This is a long time ago, really. It's the 70s. So you know, and there was two subjects I liked. I liked geography because I like coloring in around the edges of the maps. I remember that. And I was actually fairly good at maths for some reason or other. And so my parents brought me into a career advisance person. You know, they went and paid, or they actually arranged for me, especially because my school didn't have one. Our school didn't have
Okay.
one. We know what you're going to do. You
weren't missing anything. They were terrible anyway.
Yeah, it was a very basic school. They said, no, everybody goes down these paths, you know. And I went into this person. They said, what do you like doing in school? And I said, I really like geography and I like maths. And they went, well, there you are then. You can be a geography and maths teacher. That is just true as God, somebody said to me. You can be a geography and a maths teacher. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't have visions like you're talking about. I was like, yeah, in my little daydream world. So I was so disappointed with that. I went, oh, is that as good as it gets?
But that was as good as it gets. You know, women have been pigeonholed into, you know, these, you know, when my mother finished, I mean, she had the choice of being a teacher or a nurse. I think those are the only choices. And still today, you know, women, you know, if you say teacher, woman, professor, man, cook, woman, chef, man, you know, nurse, doctor. It's in society, we have it in our brains that, you know, women do these jobs and men do these jobs, and I'm all about breaking that mold, you know, and so are the women that I talk to, the passionistas, right? We're breaking the mold and we're breaking out. We're like, I don't want to be a geography or a maths teacher. How dare you, right?
Yeah, but again, a little, you know, amplifying that, Beth, you know, because I was reasonably good at maths, I was, you know, in terms of, was one of the better top of the class really in maths for some reason or other. Yeah. So when I actually did get to leave school, I went to a local tech college and they paid to do some courses. Yeah. And one of the courses they paid people to do was computers. So, you know, my parents said, well, go and do the one that you get paid for. Yeah. Would you believe it? There were more women in that class. So this is computer programming in 1978. And do you know why there were more women in that class? It's because how people saw computers then was secretarial. Yeah, because it was about, you know, we actually used punch card and paper tape, and it was all about typing. You know, I did a typing course as I learned to be a computer programmer.
I did too. That was my plan B.
But, you know, but now, you know, it's men that generally go into IT. I mean, I wouldn't, you know, it's not necessarily true, but, you know, you know, and I don't want to get to, you know, I don't have the facts, so I can't say, but I can tell you it was extraordinary how many women. There was more than half of the class were women. Yeah. And then we're talking about a class of like 50 people. So 25-30 of them were women. Yeah.
Right.
And it changed as soon as, you know, suddenly it's like, oh, now computing is engineering.
Right, that's it. We've got the engineering term now, right? And engineers are mostly men. It's strange, right?
Yes, yeah.
Strange how we get pigeonholed into things, but that's an interesting story. What was the biggest leap of faith that you took on this journey? So you obviously didn't go to be a maths or a geography teacher, and you went into the computing, and then you had your career. So let's talk about that a little.
Yeah. And you know, again, I would say that, and I don't know if I'm different. I'm sure there's other people like me, but I wasn't pursuing any dream. I was far more sort of confused than that, I was
Right.
sort of like just finding my way and following a sense of inner knowing. So I would say that, leaps of faith are a practice. They're a daily practice, and there's some days I'm more successful than other days. Yeah. But what I find is by following the next obvious action, the big steps aren't so big. Yeah, the big steps become inevitable. So you end up with this kind of choiceless choice, I chose to, do that computer course. Yeah. I then, I'm trying to think, I chose to go back to college. Actually, that was quite a big leap of faith because I went off and went into work after a 1-year course. And then I went, I'm not finished being a student. So I would say that was quite a big leap of faith for me to go from a steady,
Right.
secure job, in 1979, 1980, and take myself off to university. I didn't even have the money to pay the fees, so I just told them I applied on poverty basis. Yeah. So I went off to another city. I blagged my way into course, which is the wrong course, by the way. I thought I was getting into a computing course, and I discovered I blagged my way into a mechanical engineering course. Yeah. And when I got in there, I was like, no, it's what I want to do. And they put me in the coding course, which was fine.
Right.
But that was a big leap because there was a steady, secure job and income coming in, and I just know I'm not finished with being a student. Yeah. Now I didn't have the courage to go and say, oh, I want to go to art college, or I want to study innovation, or I want to study design. So I stayed on my little narrow track and stayed in computing. But I would say more recently, and I followed through on a conversation with the coconut. This is about 3 years ago. This is the most recent kind of mad thing that I did. So using the work that I do and that about, intuition and imagination, I'm sort of sitting on the beach having this sort of intuitive session, and a coconut showed up, in my imagination, guys, not there beside me. And so I started having a conversation with it, and I said, so who are you? And it said, well, I'm an event. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. What kind of an event? And it said, well, it's a week-long transformation program. It's a course, it's going to be real holiday, because I was in Greece at the time. It's going to be here. And I was like, oh, really? Okay, that's right. Where's it going to be? And it kind of went up the hill there in this venue, which I'd never been in. So I didn't know the venue, but I knew it was there. And then I said, that's really interesting. And I don't think I was speaking out loud, but I said, so who's going to run this? And it was like, you. And I'm not a naturally, I'm fairly extrovert in this environment, but, I'm not a natural facilitator teacher. I'm got to be backroom. I don't want to be on stage. I was like, really? But one of the questions I always ask, and later on, I know you probably ask for some advice, but, one of the questions I asked is what's the obvious action here? Like, if this is something that's exciting, it's interesting, I'm terrified of it as well, but I'm used to kind of now working in my imagination and really going back, there's good stuff here for me. And the next action was to go to the venue and talk to the person who owned it. So I went up to the venue, and I think I went 3 times. And before I actually went and spoke to the person who owned it, Beth, because I walked in, I said, what am I going to say to this guy? I haven't taught programs.
I've just had a conversation with a coconut.
Well,
the coconut told me to come here to talk to you.
Exactly.
Can you help me out?
And that is what I ended up doing. The 3rd time I went up to him, I said, can I speak to you? I don't know you, never met you, Texan guy, quite a bit of money, built this beautiful venue. Now it's a hippie part of Greece, so it helps. So he said to me, come to me tomorrow, we'll sit here and have a coffee. So he sat down and he said, so what's this about? And I just sort of went, I had a conversation with a coconut.
And he did tell him that?
I did. And he said, whatever it is, he said, we're doing it. That was it.
Wow.
Whatever it is, we're doing it.
So he's obviously...
Well, I think he got it, but also what I get is when you start working in this way, other people get it as well.
Right.
If you're speaking from your heart, if you're speaking your truth, even if it is gobbledygook, even if not making any sense, people feel the vibration and the energy of it.
Absolutely.
And he's just going, I get it. We'll do it. Yeah. And that was a huge leap of faith for me. I felt like so embarrassing. I didn't know how to have the conversation. And then, we put that event on in 2022 and 23 and 24. We've just run the third one. We call that Evolve the Journey. And it's a week in the mornings of discovering what it is your heart wants to explore and express next. Yeah. You can go to the beach in the afternoon. We have dinners in the evening. We have, we had a resident DJ. Both years we had resident DJs. We had a resident artist, somebody coming and painting. There was massage, all sorts of stuff, really, really funky. So it was great. I mean, now I'm on the third one.
Fantastic. And I'm coming to one
amazing.
of them. You know that, right? I'm coming to one of them.
Yes,
I haven't been able to come to the others, but I'm coming to one of them.
Well, the coconut better start giving me some good ideas about financing, because I need a business partner at this stage, because
Right.
I know, the coconut, I'm going like, me and the coconut need to kind of make it a little bit more sustainable. But it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful event. If I say so myself, I obviously am saying so. But there was all sorts of things along the way. Like there was an issue with the venue, a very dramatic issue with the venue. And the venue actually changed hands before I actually ran the first event, like 4 weeks before. But all sorts of things happened along the way. So there's leaps of faith all along the way. And so in a way, living intuitively or living imaginatively or living as a passionate pioneer is about the practice of taking the little leaps of faith.
It is.
And those little leaps of faith add up to big leaps. I look back now and go, wow, I am the facilitator and teacher and leader of Evolve the Journey. And we've evolved a leadership program from that called Evolve the Spirit-Led Leadership Program. That didn't exist 3 years ago, completely made up.
Right. And I love that. I love that, how the story evolves, because it's, it's by taking those small aligned action steps and just taking the next step that you can do. What's possible for you to do? Just take that. And all my intuition's telling me this. Well, just okay. So what can you do to get there? Just take the next step. I'm the same with the podcast. When I started it, I mean, I didn't have a coach to help me. I just bought a microphone, a good microphone, and I've got Zoom, and I said, right, what's the topic? What do I love to do? I love to empower women. That's it. That's what I'd like to hear stories. I love hearing stories of other women that have followed their passions and ditched the status quo, and this is how it's evolved. I mean, and it's follow what brings you joy. Is it, listen to yourself, listen to the coconut. Is it, it's use your imagination and create what you want in your life. And I love that about the work that you do. I know it didn't start with a coconut. There's lots of story before that, but the story of this evolved journey and into leadership programs, started by using your imagination. Oh gosh. And we can't do that sometimes unless we take a break off social media, off the devices. You said you were in Greece, maybe sitting on the beach, walking in nature. We get inspiration from Mother Nature. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I would, Beth. I think, life is happening for us. As much as, as much as we can be victims, and all of us can be. I don't think it's about we're a victim and then we become an amazing creator. I think that we have days we go up and down on the scale, yeah. And there's days when we're on it and I know exactly what we're doing and we're following through. But then there's other times where it's just about being open to what's happening to us and seeing that there's so much information in life. And it can be in a city, but I do get that nature, I get that we are nature, yeah? And that's why, I use the term evolve actually in evolution. Evolution's inherent, I get our spirits are always emerging, yeah? But we can put ourselves in better environments that cultivate that. Like we can put ourselves, the grapevine that travels on the ground isn't going to be as robust as the grapevine that has a bit of a trellis, yeah, or the tomato plant that's in the hothouse, yeah. So again, that's what you and I are about, is serving and supporting people and giving them environments where they can actually allow themselves to evolve and go, oh, it's okay to be me. It's okay to follow the voice of the coconut. It's okay to, go out and buy a microphone, even though I don't know what a podcast is, or how to do it or anything, yeah. So yeah, and I'm with you. I think nature is a great teacher. And I think one of the things that I think, I sense is important, and if people are looking for guidance, is to have a daily practice where they are connected to what their inner their inner self. So they could be connected to nature, but it's the deepest knowing. It's that sort of sense of being connected to yourself. And sometimes you may not hear anything. Yeah. And I think that's what we're afraid of. You know, we're afraid of just, you know, being in the stillness and being out in nature and being, you know, watching the birds or doing some meditation or, you know, not having our phones available. Yeah. And so we fill up the space, but spirit doesn't come unless there's space.
Exactly.
And spirit needs structure as well. And so even if you take a 10-minute session in the morning or whatever and go, that's my structure, I'm going to create space, I'm going to hold this space open with no expectation. Yeah. Then, you know, spirit's like the little bird that comes up and starts to nibble, you know, nibble at your feet or whatever. Yeah.
It is. And you know, you talk a lot about, you know, the energy and spirit and, you know, co-creating and evolving that, you know, I see that a lot more in, you know, business these days. People talking about energetics because okay, when you've got your business, you've got to have a strategy, but it's also more about having the energetics and the imagination. And, you know, not just the strategy for the business, you've got to have your, you know, I think they're saying it's like 80% energetics. You know, you've got to do the work, you've got to be aware, you know, you've got to do some things for yourself and open up your heart space, open up your mind, and, you know, and let your imagination flow. That's, you know.
Yeah, and I might be a little bit controversial here, but you know, I do share this all the time. Like I think business is one of the most amazing vehicles for change in the world. Yeah. But what people don't realize is that built in and baked into business, for instance, the word business itself comes from the Old English to mean anxiety. And if you say in Spanish, or maybe even Italian, it's negocius. Yeah. And negocius means not. Otium means not pleasure. So
Right.
built in and baked in, and we don't know that. We're not conscious of that. Yeah. Now I'm not here to change the word for business, but I am going like, let's be conscious. Let's be conscious that this kind of is baked in. And also what's baked in to business, unfortunately, is the stakeholder profit and loss and stakeholder return on investment. Yeah.
Right.
And you see, if we're, you know, so it's all very well, I think, to be imaginative, but if you're working inside in that structure, you're not actually working inside in a container that's, you know, spirit-led container. Yeah. So I think part of the challenge for people, because there's wonderful creations out there and businesses, and I think social enterprises and B Corp, so they're really trying to work in that area, purpose-led business. But I think it's been able to change the bigger framework, being able to kind of go, hey, we're in business, you're doing what's true, I'm doing what's true, Beth, and you know, if our stakeholders or our investors were saying, where's the return on investment, we probably wouldn't be doing it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Evolve has run for 3 years, and just this year, in fact, I don't think it even broke even this year. Like on paper, from a business point of view, it would be like, don't keep doing that. Yeah.
Right.
But I know
Yeah, I
there's
was
fuel
actually
for me to
talking
do
about
it.
individuals, not like
Okay.
corporations, because the big corporations, it's not that possible. But a lot of entrepreneurs, individual entrepreneurs that I'm speaking to, and you know, and that's why
Pioneers.
you're
Yeah.
pioneers. They are, you know, they're striking out on their own, and they're using their imagination and they're creating their own reality, and they're trying, you know, wanting to live a life on their terms. So you know,
Yes.
the corporation's a little different because you're not working on your own terms, you're working on their terms. The
Exactly.
cage is already there and set. It's a little difficult to change. When you break out on your own, the entrepreneurs I speak to on this podcast, that's what they're all about, is, you know, is using nature, using the environment, using evolution as part of
The
their,
natural.
yeah,
Yeah.
as part
And
of
let's celebrate that. And that's what you're doing, Beth. You know, you're
yeah.
creating a space so that people know they're not alone. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, I know that I'm one of 15 in this series, you know, and there's more, you know, like I go, wow, I'm not alone. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, congratulations to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what a wonderful contribution it is.
Yeah. It's my pleasure, honestly. It brings me so much joy just to be a facilitator for these stories. And it's amazing, Anne, how many women I speak to and I'm like, oh gosh, that sounds familiar. I've heard that story before, or that resonates with me. There are many different experiences that overlap.
Yeah.
you know.
Absolutely.
So let's see about you touched a little bit on fears, doubts and fears, and we all have them. So talk a little bit about your doubts and fears on your journey and how you overcame them. There's probably not enough time to talk about all of them.
Well,
just talk about
I
a
won't
few
be.
of them,
I'll talk
the
about
most
doubt.
important.
I wrote a little poem about doubt on put it on LinkedIn yesterday, I think it was, you know, and doubt is my constant companion. It never really goes away. Yeah, some days the voice is louder than others, and in fact, on the days when it's louder than others, it can often be an indicator that I'm not in a good place. Yeah, so you know, it's not that, you know, I think sometimes, you know, what I realize is doubt can be like, oh, is this the right thing to do? Do you think you should be spending your money on that? Or, you know, do you think that's the right day to be taking that flight? And, you know, and sometimes you just go, actually, maybe I do need to think, maybe I do need to look at my diary and see if I'm double booked, or maybe I do need to look at my bank account. Yeah. So, you know, it can be a useful tool. Yeah?
Yeah.
But when it starts, you know, like, you know, the alarm bells going off, then, you know, like I'm like rabbit in the headlights and I can't do anything. Yeah. And
Right.
so, you know, and I become stymied and stuck. So, but you know, you asked about like how we deal with that. I think part of it is not trying to get rid of it, but actually appreciating, you know, like the child pulling at the skirt, going, actually, you know, do you have something to tell me? Is there something I need to address here? But I do think that what really serves me, and I use this term quite a lot, is to ground myself, to recenter and ground. And
Yeah.
I think, you know, my analogy that I've been working with so recently, I think, is this whole natural analogy of the seed, you know, and the seed, I don't know if people don't know this, but in Evolve, and people who are gardeners will know this, but a seed cracks open, and I always thought that it cracked open, a root went down, like cracked open and a shoot went up. But apparently only the root goes down. And as the root goes down further and further and further, it nourishes the seed and pushes it above the ground. So often what you see coming above the ground is actually the seed cover. Yeah. So what I get is the more grounded I am, then the stronger I can be, the stronger I can stand. Yeah. And so grounding, whether I do some meditation, I think breath work is useful. I mean, it's different things, like swimming in the sea does it for me. Yeah. You know, maybe going out and lying on the ground, and you know, I've got a client of mine who loves parkour, you know. I have another client of mine who loves jumping into a cold swimming pool. I'm not into that, but you know, there are different ways that we can ground ourselves, and it's different for different people. Yeah?
Yeah.
But that grounding and just refinding who I am, then I can go, okay, those are my doubts. Okay, I just need to pause. I need to maybe take an early night, maybe sleep, maybe I need to get off my phone. So that's really what serves me to navigate that journey.
Very good. I
Doubt
think that's
and
good. That's
fear.
great advice. And you're right. Grounding is different for, you know, for everyone. Sometimes I like to just put my feet in the grass. I just think that's just, you know, it's a lovely feeling. It's a strange feeling at first because but it's really quite lovely. You know, walking on the beach is another one.
Yeah. And actually, you're a cat person, aren't you? So
Yes.
cats are a great way. I mean, cats and
Yeah.
animals, like just seeing a cat or a dog and just how they just exist in the moment, you know? They're just, and just often sometimes I love to sit near a cat, just be like in that vibration. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's lovely when they're just purring.
Yeah.
And it's just that the lovely purring vibration is just it's very soothing.
Yeah.
It's unconditional love,
If
isn't
you're a
it?
cat
Yeah,
person.
well, a dog, well,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, whatever. But yeah, but exactly. But yeah. Oh, horses are another one that I've got a friend of
Right.
mine who loves
Yes.
horses, you know,
Yeah.
and horses are very magical as well. I'm a bit intimidated by them, but
So let me ask you, have you made any, for want of a better word, sacrifices along the way, things that you've let go of that you found weren't serving you anymore?
yeah, I would say the biggest sacrifice that I've made is the security of income. You know, like it's like and I have let go of living in any one place. I do have a home in London. But actually I haven't lived there permanently since 2017. Yeah. So I've just got that, you know, it's been true for me to, you know, be in community with other people. I do work in Greece, as you know, as we've talked about. Yeah, I've sometimes done some house sitting. That's how I met you in Italy, actually, because I was doing house sitting in Italy during COVID. So I've had to let go of that, and so that, you know, having all my things around me and having my comforts and my desk, and you know, so I've let go of those things, but I've only let go when it's become true to let go, really. And sometimes I hold on, yeah. And what has been hard is when I hold on to something. Like I've stayed in a couple of jobs too long. I've stuck with projects or working relationships that haven't been working for me. Yeah. But then it gets to a point where I just go, I'm struggling, I'm holding on here. And so the sacrifice, it's a choiceless choice. It's not really a sacrifice anymore. Yeah.
I totally get that though, and the holding on too long to something when you know it's about it is an awareness. It's about listening to that little thing tugging at your skirt, right? Or your intuition, you know, and it's when to really lean in and listen to that intuition so that, you know, you don't overstay.
Yeah.
We've all done it. We're, you know, we're not perfect. We've all made mistakes. We've all done that. But it is just, it's improving our connection to ourselves and learning to listen to ourselves more.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what would you be most proud of accomplishing on this journey so far?
Well, it is the coconut story, really. It's creating evolve. You know, I mean, I've been coaching for 10 years and I coach as Crossing Frontiers. You know, it's all about new horizons and stuff and helping people through transitions and, you know, opening up the possibility of imagination. But to actually create something is so tangibly a product, you know, so tangibly a thing. And to see that evolve, to see, you know, evolve the journey. A 1 week holiday has now, you know, we did a weekend for entrepreneurs actually in Portugal last year. And then what's emerged from that is this 9-month program, which has also, you know, meant that I'm collaborating as people have been attracted to work with me. So my coach, wonderful woman called Paula Jones, is joining me, and Taylor Rourke, who's awesome facilitator, ex-lawyer, sustainability energy consultant. And the three of us are actually getting together. And I go, you know, they've got wonderful talents, skills to bring to the facilitation and the team. But actually, you know, I was the source. I go, oh, you know, the coconut came to me. And that's been interesting as well, as to realize it may have initially come to me, but the creation of it, you know, isn't mine. The creation of it belongs to all of us.
Well, that's exactly how I feel about this podcast. I started it and but the stories are everyone else's. It's a collaboration. It's a community. And that's okay. I might have started it. You found the coconut. I might have bought a microphone and started on Zoom, but you know, it's the it's the things that come afterwards that are all part of that journey. Nice.
Absolutely.
Do you want to talk more about this new entrepreneur journey that you're doing? Do you want to talk more about that? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to mention that. Very happy to talk about that. It's called Evolve, the Spirit-Led Leadership Program. And what was interesting is, you know, when we tuned in, because we did tune in and intuitively got that we were doing a leadership program, and we got that everybody's a leader. Like, you know, it's not like you have to be, oh, I'm in a company and I'm a leader, and you know, I'm a leader of my company. It's more the idea that we each are, you know, what I would say a unique, you know, aspect of the divine, yeah. And you know, we're here to express that, yeah. And as a result of that, we become leaders in that, yeah. You know, that's our job, is to, like, how do we be fully expressed as Beth or Anne or, you know, whoever is else, you know. And so that's the invitation. And we weren't going to use the word spirit led, but then we went, but it is spirit led. It's about teaching people. It's not teaching, actually. It's about creating a structure that facilitates people to listen to their spirit and have a structure that supports them along the way. Yeah. Now they could have a coach, and some people who come on our program will have coaches, but actually I think the big benefit of this is a sense of kinship. It's a cohort that are going to be working together. The maximum, we're talking about 15 or 18 people. And some of it will be online and some of it will be in person. Yeah. Now, you know, I found that in my journey, the early days of my journey, I did lots of in-person residential work. And it's just exquisite to do this work in person with other people. I mean, there's a lot we can do on Zoom. So we're going to go to 5 different locations in UK and Europe. And each weekend, 5 weekends from, I think, one in October, one in December, one in January, February, one in April, and the last one in May. And over those weekends, we'll be doing experiential work. So it'll be much more visceral, embodied, whether we actually go hiking in Snowdonia, or Scotland, we're definitely doing some work with horses, actually.
Nice.
Not riding horses, but just looking at our energetics and how we show up and what happens to horses when we show up in a particular way. And also how energetically we can actually, guide a horse to do certain things. Yeah. So it's all about having this experience and having the kinship and the collaboration. And another thing that we are very keen to do is actually work with people and what's called synergy work, which is basically the sum of the sum of the whole is greater than the parts. Now, what I mean by that is to work truly in synergy with people is for everybody to show up with their heart-led contribution. Therefore, not to compromise, so it's not about, oh, Beth, you know how to do accounts, so you must do the accounts. It's like you go, that's not true for me. This is what's true for me. And in most organizations, that doesn't really work because people go, sorry, Beth, you work in the accounts department. You can't, you just stick in your lane, and even though we know you're very talented at something else, that's not what your job is. Yeah. So
Right.
we will do synergy projects. So we will support everybody in their business or whatever is there in the world. We've got a couple of artists, we've got a filmmaker, we've got entrepreneurs, we've got I think we probably have a coach or two. Yeah, so we got a very, very diverse group of people coming along, and the intention is that their business will be accelerated and more grounded in the world by the end of the program. But also we're going to do projects. People will do projects together in that environment where they will get to practice synergy in a real life environment. So it'll be something, they'll do a project that means something to them, but the stakes won't be as high as if it was their business. Yeah. So, I might go, well, I'm really interested in oceans, and somebody else might say, I'm interested in oceans. And so we go, okay, well, cool. Maybe there's a project we can get together here about, fundraising event for oceans. And so people get to practice the synergy principles. And Taylor, Paula, and myself, we're all coaches. And so we're available to serve and support people. Like there's 3 of us supporting maximum 18 people.
Nice.
9 months starting on the 14th of September.
Very nice.
And running till the 1st of June. Yeah.
Fantastic. That sounds really
Thanks
interesting.
for giving me the space to share that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Of course. This podcast is not about me. It's about you sharing your story and your journey and the new things that are happening for you. And that's a very interesting synergy project. I like that. So with all of these different projects, how do you sort of stay motivated and inspired when you've got external pressures or expectations? How do you remain positive and motivated and inspired, Anne?
Well, I do work with an imaginative manifesto or blueprint or set of choices, so which I update every sort of probably 9 months. Yeah. And that's created from imagination storytelling work, and that's kind of work that I've done with you. And
you have, yes, we've done that, yes,
with clients. Yeah. So that manifesto or that blueprint is, that inspires me. I stay connected to that on a daily basis, in a very light way, but my day would generally start with connecting with that, journaling around it, intuiting, stepping into it. Yeah. And being led by that, being guided by what I'm going to do in my day by that. So, and I think obviously there are times then when, it's a difficult world to live in, right? I mean, besides the fact that I haven't got the security of income, yeah, the usual, like I'm not getting a paycheck. So there's that sort of tension. And then there's stuff happening in life. Yeah. People are ill, people die, there's, you lose contracts, clients leave, whatever. So what I find is when the noise gets, like that, then I've just it's my daily practice, I think, that really serves me. So that quality of being grounded. And again, I think the plant metaphor is the deeper the roots, the greater the fruits. Yeah. So
I like that.
Yeah, the deeper the roots, the greater the fruit.
Greater the fruit.
It's
I like that.
Yeah, it's like that sense of like, so it's that awareness of like, wow, I'm going through a bit of a difficult time, or there's a bit of a difficult time going going on? Like, how am I looking after myself? Yeah. Like, how am I staying connected to myself? How am I remembering myself? Because I can forget myself. I can be there going, oh my God, this is happening with Trump and Joe Biden, and
Exactly.
this is what's happening
There's
in the
so much
world.
noise in the world, right? It's like there's wars, there's elections, there's politics changing all over the place. It's just distractions, right? That's what I call them.
Yeah. So is that remembering myself? And I think that's the sense that, so I suppose I wouldn't actually talk about staying motivated or even staying inspired, but I do think that when I'm grounded, then I go, oh, it's okay, I'm here. I know who I am. Yeah. And then in that natural space, things happen. The more grounded I am, the more likely it is that I'm going to get a new client. Yeah. The more grounded I am, the more likely is a new opportunity is going to show up for me. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the questions I always ask is about self-care, because I think, the word selfish on this planet has been misconstrued like so many other different things on, has been totally misconstrued, because I think, you've got to, self-care is really important. So one of my questions is, how do you prioritize self-care and maintain your well-being? But I think you've pretty much answered that with the grounding, and you've got your creative choices that you read. Anything you want to add to self-care?
Yeah, I think, and one of the reasons I prioritize it's a bit like putting your oxygen mask on first. We say that all the time. Yeah. We say that all the time, Beth, but we're very, very conditioned to do things for others. Like, even a business is about others. Even, in this conversation, you're going, like, it's true that this podcast is for others, but imagine if you then make it all about others and you forget yourself. Yeah. So, prioritizing self-care to me is about, starting with yourself. And in fact, our tagline for Evolve the Journey is pleasure, purpose, and possibility.
I love that.
And I was really clear about the order of those words, because what I get is it starts with pleasure. It starts with being connected to ourselves, finding the joyfulness in the moment. And when we're connected to that, then our purpose will emerge from there. The purpose, on any given day, if I wake up and I'm joyfully connected to life, I'll want to share, I want to give, I want to support. Yeah. So I think it just becomes a no-brainer. Like, and my day, and I get evidence. Yeah. The more I do that, the more I prioritize myself, I get the evidence. Yeah. I forget, I'm human, and I wake up in the morning and I run around like a headless chicken. And then I go, wow, that wasn't as good a day as yesterday. Yeah. So the day that I remember to put myself first, and my awareness that my tendency is not to do that, and we all have different tendencies, but having awareness of ourselves and how we show up. Like, I'm a people pleaser. Like, I go, what do people want from me? I'm staying with my mom at the moment.
There's an epidemic of it at the moment. Everyone,
absolutely,
but not at the moment. For many years, there's been an epidemic of people pleasing, and and I know I'm all about that. If you take care of yourself, and your energy, you put yourself in the right place, it has a knock-on effect.
And you'll contribute more
effortlessly.
Exponential. So, and I would say that if anybody looks at people out in the world, and I mean, but there are people out there, working their socks off to create businesses and have big impact and have all the trappings. But if you look at somebody who is, successful from a heart-led place, and who's big in the world, I can guarantee you that they're putting themselves first, because I can guarantee you that the effort, that it doesn't have to be effortful. Yeah. Like, it doesn't have to be effortful to have a big impact. Yeah. But to have a big impact it's all about starting from yourself. Yeah. It isn't about going, I'm trying to have a big impact.
Yeah. It's true. It's very true. Okay. So what are some things that you're still learning about yourself and your goals?
Well, I think it goes to what I was saying a little bit earlier about, having awareness. Like, I learned that, even though I don't consciously think this, but I see it, that I'm hard on myself and I'm hard on others. In fact, what I'll see is how hard I am on others. But what I realize is, if I'm hard on others, I'm hard on myself. And that keeps me very stuck. Yeah. So for me, the value of compassion and being with my emotions, allowing my emotions to do whatever it is they need to do, that facilitates things to unstick. Yeah. Also, I'm learning like how much I love learning. Yeah. And it's and the value of, in a way, not learning to study, but learning because there's more to know. Yeah. And this value of not knowing is wonderful, because then I can show up in a conversation and kind of go, oh, I don't know, there's more to learn here. There's more to learn in this relationship. There's more to learn in this collaboration. There's more to learn working with this client. Then what, it's just beautiful, because more things unfold. Whereas if I go in thinking I know how it is, and I know how this client is, and I know how this situation is, well, you know, there's nothing new in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and staying connected to myself and staying connected to my goals, which I've talked about a couple of times in this
Yes.
conversation. Yeah. So that
Yeah.
goes back to the self-care practice. Yeah. So I'm learning that it's a practice to stay connected to my goals. And if I don't do a daily practice, it's just not going to happen. Yeah. It's like, if I don't go to the gym, I can go to the gym once and learn how to use all the machines. Yeah, that's cool. I can even go for a year, become really fit and whatever. But if I stop going to the gym, well, you know, I'm going to lose whatever I've gained there. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
staying connected to myself, staying connected to my vision, and having this openness about it, knowing that my vision is always changing, it's always growing, it's always expanding, and that what I think it is today isn't what it is. You know, what I think it is today isn't what it's going to be in 3 years' time. Yeah.
Right.
What I thought Evolve was going to be 3 years ago, I didn't know it was going to be a leadership program. I didn't know I was going to be working with my coach and Taylor and running a 9-month program.
Yeah.
And
Amazing.
how magical it is to think,
Yeah, how
I
magical
didn't
is
know, I
that?
just let it grow.
Yeah. Yeah. Just let it evolve. Right.
Yeah.
What's the most unexpected benefit you've gained from this journey of life?
Well, you know, you know, it's a 3-letter word. It's joy, really. You
Oh,
know, I think
good. Yes.
yeah, it's just the enjoyment, and just discovering kind of like that I can have fun while I'm at work, and I can work. I like working. Yeah, I like working. I like studying. And I can do that and have a very joyful time with it. Yeah. It doesn't mean I don't have a structured day. And, you know, I usually do calls on Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays. I do my admin on Mondays and Fridays. And I really try and keep the weekends, you know, for be with friends and whatever. Yeah. But you know, so there's not a lot of, just, you know, I have a lot of joy in my downtime, and I have a lot of, you know, I'm still happy to read a book, or, you know, look at a documentary at the weekend, you know, that teaches me. So it's a lot of joy. A lot of joy is really
And
what
I
I would
think
say.
that's lovely, because excuse me, I'm losing my voice again. Too much talking. The Joseph Campbell had it right. Follow your bliss,
Yeah,
follow your
he did.
joy, right?
And
And I think that's really important, isn't it?
yeah, and I'm just you know, to give you an little example of this, is when I was quite young. We were talking about career, and I was asked what did I want to do. I didn't say I wanted to be a geography and maths teacher. What I said is I want to work outdoors and I want to work with people. And everyone was a bit like, oh, you know, and what's that? And this event that we run in Greece, we run it outdoors insofar as we can. This year it was a bit hot; it was 34 degrees, so we did use the
Right,
aircon
right.
room for a little while. But at one point, I sat there on this beautiful stage. We're all barefoot. Most of us are wearing shorts, you know, little bikini tops. It's all very relaxed, and I went, I'm working outdoors with people. You know, that sounds unexpected. I said that when I
Right.
was about 15, and there was I, you know, doing it.
Well, fantastic. You created that, Anne. Well done.
Hmm.
So, questions I ask all my guests. What's one piece of advice that you'd wish you'd gotten earlier on your journey?
I think it's the journey is the destination. The destination is the journey. You know what I mean? It's like that they're one and the same. I spent quite a bit of time like trying to work out who I was and where I was going and what my path was. And I remember going to a coach, having a session with a coach I paid a lot of money for, and they said, "What do you want to know?" And I went, "I want to know what my path is. You know, like where's my path? What am I supposed to do?" And they just said, "But you are the wayfinder." I was like, "No." but you know, it's so true. You know, it's like, so I spent a lot of time trying to search and externally look for who it was I was supposed to be, and instead of just going right now, right here, right now, you know, is what it's about, and
Yeah.
finding the joy and the bliss that we've talked about. Yeah.
Yeah. Finding the joy in the moments, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Very good. And what do you hope your story will inspire in other women who are listening today?
Well, I want other women who are listening to know that they're entitled to a joyful life that matters to them. Yeah, that they're entitled to experience joy, and they're entitled to a life that matters to them, even if they don't know what that is. Yeah, it's one of my big things really, is that we don't need to know. We just need to go, yeah, I want a life that matters to me. I want a relationship that I love. You know, somebody asked me, I've never been married. Somebody asked me recently, would I love to be married? I went, yeah, the way I imagine it, absolutely. Yeah. You know, I don't want to be in a horrible relationship. Yeah. But I probably didn't get married because I have a part of me that goes, oh, that's a bit dodgy. But the more older I've got, the more I've gone, I know what I want. I want a great, awesome relationship. Yeah.
Right.
And I'd be very happy to commit to that. So, and I'm entitled to that.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely. Very, very good. Okay, so we've come to the close of our episode today. A million thanks to Anne for joining me. Thanks to our audience for hanging out with us. We hope you found it inspiring and empowering. And for more information on how to join my Passionista Society, just send me a message, and you can also contact Anne. All her details will be below. So from us to you, thank you for today.